daughters of the river goddess. In the ancient kingdom of Ala-Nta, where the sun kissed the earth with golden fingers and the moon whispered secrets to the whispering palms, a legend was born, a tale woven by the winds and carried by the flowing waters of the great River Uli. It was a land where spirits danced among the trees, and the ancestors' voices echoed in the rustling leaves. Here, the past was never far from the present, and the future was written in the stars. In Ala-Nta, the people were blessed by the river goddess, Omu-Uli, whose waters fed their crops and quenched their thirst. It was said that Omu-Uli watched over the kingdom with eyes as deep as the river's depths, guarding it from famine and misfortune. Her laughter was heard in the bubbling streams, and her anger was felt in the raging floods. It was she who chose the rulers of Ala-Nta, whispering her will to the high priest, Adiku, whose name meant daughter of wealth. Adiku was a woman of wisdom, revered for her visions and feared for her power. Her hair was long and silver like the moonlight, and her eyes gleamed with the knowing of the unseen. When she spoke, even the oldest elders listened. But there was one prophecy that haunted her, a vision of blood and water, of death and rebirth, of daughters who would change the fate of the kingdom. It was on the night of the Igbankwa festival, when the drums sang to the spirits, and the dancers moved like leaves in the wind, that the prophecy began to unfold. The air was thick with incense, and the flames from the sacred fire danced to the rhythm of the night. The villagers gathered around the square, their faces aglow with excitement, their bodies swaying to the ancient melodies that spoke of ancestors and gods. Nnamdi, the ruler of Ala-Nta, sat on his throne of carved Iroko wood, his royal beads glistening in the firelight. He was a man of great strength and wisdom, beloved by his people and blessed with wealth. Yet, his heart was heavy, for he had no son to inherit his throne. His wife, Queen Amora, had borne him 3 daughters, Adaora, the eldest, whose beauty was like the morning sun, Nkem, the second, whose laughter was as joyful as the flowing river, and Obiageli, the youngest, whose curiosity was as vast as the skies. But in a kingdom where tradition dictated that only a son could ascend the throne, Nnamdi's lineage was at risk. He prayed daily to Omu-Uli for a son, offering the finest yams and the sweetest palm wine, but the river goddess remained silent. As the festival reached its peak, Adiku stepped forward, her staff raised high, the cowries on her ankles jingling with each step. The drums fell silent, and a hush descended upon the crowd. Her voice was like thunder, echoing across the square. "Hear me, people of Ala-Nta. Hear the words of Omu-Uli," she proclaimed, her eyes rolling back as the spirit of prophecy took hold. "On this night of Igbankwa, the river speaks. The daughters of the river shall rise, and from them shall flow the destiny of this land." A murmur of confusion spread through the crowd. Daughters. What could that mean? Adiku continued, her voice growing stronger. "From the womb of the queen, the river has chosen. 3 daughters born of royal blood shall face trials untold. They shall walk the path of spirits, dance with the gods, and conquer the shadows that dwell beyond the light. Only then shall Ala-Nta see its true ruler." Nnamdi's face grew pale, and Queen Amora clutched her chest, her heart pounding with fear. The daughters stared at the high priestess, their eyes wide with wonder and dread. "But beware." Adiku's voice trembled, her body swaying as if caught in an unseen wind. "For the shadows are hungry, and they seek to consume the light. The river's gift is also its curse. Blood shall flow, and sacrifices shall be made. Only through unity, courage, and wisdom shall victory be found." With that, Adiku collapsed, her body limp as a fallen leaf. The villagers rushed to her side, but she did not move. Her spirit had journeyed beyond the mortal realm, leaving her body behind. The prophecy hung in the air like the mist over the river, heavy and foreboding. The daughters were marked by destiny, chosen by Omu-Uli, but for what purpose? None could say. That night, the moon hid behind dark clouds, and the winds whispered of change. Nnamdi could not sleep, his thoughts haunted by Adiku's words. If the river had chosen his daughters, what did that mean for his throne? For his kingdom? He looked upon his daughters, who slept peacefully, unaware of the burden now placed upon their shoulders. Adaora, with her golden skin and hair as dark as the night, Nkem, with eyes that sparkled with mischief, and Obiageli, who dreamed of spirits and shadows. How could they be the ones to save Ala-Nta? They were only girls, untouched by the world's cruelty. Yet, the river does not lie. And the river had spoken. The following days were filled with fear and speculation. Some whispered that the daughters were cursed, that they would bring ruin to Ala-Nta. Others believed they were blessed, chosen to bring prosperity. Nnamdi sought answers from the elders, but they were just as baffled. No tale spoke of daughters ascending the throne, only sons. It was against tradition, against the very fabric of their society. But Omu-Uli had chosen, and her will was law. As the days turned to weeks, strange things began to happen. Adaora would stand by the riverbank, her feet in the water, and the fish would gather around her, their scales gleaming under the sun. Nkem's laughter could calm the fiercest storm, and even the wild animals would sit by her side, tamed by her voice. Obiageli began to dream of spirits, of voices calling her from the depths, of shadows lurking beneath the waters. They were changing, growing in ways no one could explain. The people began to fear them, whispering of witchcraft and curses. But the daughters were only just beginning to understand their gifts, to hear the river's call. And in the depths of the River Uli, beneath the currents and the shadows, something ancient stirred. It watched them with eyes as old as time, waiting, longing for the prophecy to be fulfilled. For the daughters of the river had been chosen, and their destiny was written in water and blood. The sun rose slowly over Ala-Nta, its golden light bathing the kingdom in warmth. Yet, within the walls of the royal palace, shadows lingered. The prophecy of Adiku weighed heavily on Nnamdi, casting doubt upon his every thought. His daughters were the key to the kingdom's future, but how could he prepare them for a destiny even the ancestors did not foresee? The days that followed were filled with unease. The villagers watched the princesses with weary eyes, whispering of their strange powers. Adaora's voice could calm raging beasts, Nkem's laughter could bend the wind, and Obiageli's dreams spoke of spirits and shadows. They were marked by Omu-Uli, chosen by the river, and feared by their own people. Queen Amora stood by her daughters, her love unwavering, but her heart trembled with fear. She knew the path before them was treacherous, a journey that would test their courage, their unity, and their very souls. One evening, as the sky blazed with the colors of sunset, Nnamdi called his daughters to the sacred grove, a place forbidden to all but the royal family. The ancient trees stood tall and solemn, their branches heavy with the weight of centuries. Here, beneath the sacred Iroko tree, the king sought guidance from the spirits of his ancestors. "My daughters," he began, his voice grave and filled with sorrow, "the river has chosen you, and I cannot change that. But I fear for you, for the prophecy speaks of shadows and sacrifice." Adaora stepped forward, her chin high and her eyes burning with resolve. "Father, we are daughters of the river and of the throne. Whatever fate awaits us, we shall face it together." Nkem took her sister's hand, her smile unwavering. "We shall not be afraid. The river's gift is also its curse, but it is ours to bear." Obiageli's voice was soft, her gaze distant as if seeing beyond the world of the living. "The spirits call to me, Father. They whisper of trials and truths hidden beneath the waters. We must heed their call." Nnamdi's heart swelled with pride, but fear still gnawed at him. "Then you must go to the River Uli and seek Omu-Uli herself. Only she can reveal the path that lies before you." The decision was made. At dawn, they would journey to the sacred river, where no mortal had dared to go. They would face the river goddess and learn their destiny. At the break of dawn, the daughters set forth, guided by Adiku's apprentice, Anolika, whose name meant happiness is the greatest. Anolika was young but wise beyond her years, gifted with the sight of spirits and the blessing of Omu-Uli. She led them through the dense forest, her steps light and swift, her staff tapping a rhythm known only to the ancestors. They walked in silence, the forest alive with whispers and rustling leaves. The air grew heavy as they neared the river, the trees bending low as if bowing to an unseen queen. The ground beneath their feet became damp, and the sound of flowing water grew louder, echoing through the trees. At last, they stood before the River Uli, its waters shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Mist curled above the surface, swirling in patterns that danced to an ancient rhythm. The air was cold, heavy with the scent of earth and water. Anolika's voice was low, reverent. Omu-Uli awaits you. But beware, for the river tests those it chooses. You must face your fears, your desires, and the shadows within. Only then will you find the truth. Adaora stepped forward first, her heart steady. She waded into the water, its coldness biting into her skin. The river seemed to pulse beneath her touch, a heartbeat that echoed through her bones. She walked until the water reached her waist, then closed her eyes and spoke. Omu-Uli, goddess of the river, hear my plea. I am Adaora, daughter of Ala-Nta, chosen by your will. Show me the path I must walk. The river seemed to pulse beneath her touch, a heartbeat that echoed through her bones. She walked until the water reached her waist, then closed her eyes and spoke. Omu-Uli, goddess of the river, hear my plea. I am Adaora, daughter of Ala-Nta, chosen by your will. Show me the path I must walk. The water surged around her, swirling into a whirlpool that pulled her down into the depths. She did not scream, did not struggle, for she trusted the river. The world around her faded, and she was plunged into darkness. When she opened her eyes, she stood in a vast field beneath a sky ablaze with stars. The air was warm, the scent of jasmine heavy. Before her stood a woman, tall and majestic, her skin shimmering like water under moonlight. Her hair flowed like the river itself, and her eyes were as deep as the ocean's depths. Omu-Uli, Adaora whispered, falling to her knees. The goddess smiled, her voice soft yet echoing with power. You are brave, child of Ala-Nta. But courage alone will not save you. The stars above dimmed, and the earth trembled. Shadows rose around them, dark figures with hollow eyes and twisted smiles. They moved like smoke, whispering Adaora's name, calling to her fears. Omu-Uli's eyes were sad. These are the shadows that dwell within you, the fears you bury, the doubts that bind you. You must face them. The shadows circled her, their voices mocking. You are only a girl. How can you save a kingdom? You are not worthy. Their words stung, piercing her heart. But Adaora stood tall, her voice firm. I may be afraid, but I will not let fear control me. I am Adaora, daughter of Ala-Nta, chosen by the river. I will not falter. The shadows shrieked, their forms melting into darkness. The stars blazed once more, and Omu-Uli smiled. You have faced your fears and conquered them. Your heart is pure, your spirit strong. The goddess touched Adaora's forehead, and warmth flooded through her, filling her with strength. Remember this, daughter of the river, courage is not the absence of fear but the will to overcome it. The vision faded, and Adaora found herself standing once more in the river, her body trembling but her heart fierce. She turned to see her sisters facing their own trials. Nkem stood before a mirror-like pool, her reflection staring back with cold, empty eyes. The reflection spoke, its voice twisted. You are nothing without your laughter. Without joy, you are hollow. Nkem's heart quaked, but she stood firm. My laughter is my gift, but it does not define me. I am Nkem, daughter of Ala-Nta. I am more than my joy. The reflection shattered, and Omu-Uli's voice echoed, you have faced your truth. Strength lies not in laughter but in knowing who you are. Obiageli stood before the shadows that danced beneath the water, their shapes shifting, calling to her. They were the spirits she dreamed of, voices of the dead, lost and yearning. One spirit reached for her, its voice soft and pleading. Help me, child of visions. I am trapped, forgotten. Free me. Obiageli's heart ached with compassion, but she knew the truth. I cannot change the past, nor can I free you. But I shall remember you, honor you, and carry your story. The spirit wept, its form fading into light. Omu-Uli's voice whispered, you have faced the past and accepted it. The gift of sight is also the burden of truth. The trials were over. The river released them, and they emerged from the waters transformed, their powers awakened, their spirits unbroken. Omu-Uli appeared before them, her eyes filled with pride. You are my daughters, chosen by the river. The shadows shall come, and sacrifices shall be made, but together you shall overcome. The mist rose, the goddess faded, and the daughters stood on the riverbank, bound by destiny, blessed by the river. Together, they would face the shadows. Together, they would change the fate of Ala-Nta.